Hello. Welcome to more Higurashi. Specifically, Higurashi no Naku ni Kai, which is the name for the set of answer arcs. Just posting the links. Hello, Daisy. How are you doing? So last time we completed Himatsubushi, the time-wasting arc, where we played as Mamoru Akasaka, and we were able to rescue the kidnapped grandson of the Minister of Construction. However, it seems that we were a little bit too late to prevent this from having political implications, and it ended up being the cause of the... Hang on, this game is too loud. It ended up being the cause of the ending of the Hinamizawa Dam project. What? What do you mean you don't know if my mic is working? I can see it right there. The bar's going up. You're trolling me, right? Okay, so yeah, anyway, Hinamizawa ended up not being put under a dam, which is good, but, you know, the way they went about it was less than good. It's still unclear how everything connects together in this conspiracy. Just before he left, Akasaka received an ominous prediction from Rika about the future of the village, including all of the mysterious deaths and her own death. And when Akasaka was on his way home, he learned that his wife Yukie had passed away in an accident while waiting for him, and that seemed to have been the reason that Rika had warned him to return home in the first place. A few years later, he meets up with Ooishi, bringing his now 7-year-old daughter with him, and they discuss the past and determine that they want to be able to reach the truth, and so they publish a book together, documenting their findings on the great disaster of Hinamizawa and what occurred during the last years of the village. So yeah, that all aside, we're going to be returning to our more usual cast of characters here. Let's go ahead and start. Let me just check my config quickly. Yeah, all seems good. Meakashi, beloved cutthroat. Eye-opening chapter. Welcome to the world of Higurashi when they cry Kai. We finally reached the halfway point. From the viewpoint of the protagonist, try to find the truth behind the tragedy that unfolds. The difficulty is very high. It won't be easy to comprehend the motive of the perpetrator. This arc includes choices that were added in the console version. These choices result in dialogue changes and can lead to bad ends. Do you want to see these choices? Once again, like last time, I'm going to skip the choices and just see how the original version played out. If you're curious to see some of these differences, you can go find them. Perhaps if I ever replay this game, I'll look into it. She dropped her beads in the sand, so the girl cried. For 100 years, the girl searched the sands. They might be in the ocean, not the sand, so the girl cried. For 100 years, the girl searched the ocean. They might be in the mountains, not the ocean, so the girl cried. How many years will pass before the girl wanted to truly drop them? Frederica Ben Castell. This is a work of fiction, and it resembles actual persons or organizations. It's entirely coincidental. Something you noticed but didn't point out. In the last chapter, during the festival, Rika said in 5 years, the festival won't be the same as it was again. Correct me if I'm wrong, but... we haven't gone bad in time. When they say that the difficulty is high for the chapter, they mean the difficulty of stomaching the horror and, you know, bad shit that goes on. She was referring to the years when the club activities were happening. Seven keys were attached to the keychain. Without knowing which key was the correct one, I had to go by instinct and try every key, one by one. On average, I'd reach the correct key within 3.5 attempts. I'd be fortunate if I could open the lock within the first 3 keys, and I'd be unfortunate if I didn't. I had to think of the worst case scenario, getting the right key only on the very last attempt. I fought with my nervousness. My head ached from it. I put the key in and turned it. I just needed to repeat that small procedure several more times, but I couldn't stop shaking. Damn. Even a 3-year-old kid can do something this easy. So am I more childish than a 3-year-old? Whatever, I don't care if I'm clumsy. I just need to try all these keys. Even in the worst case scenario, the lock will open on the 7th try. No way. Reality isn't always the same as math. What happened was worse than my worst case scenario. None of the keys worked at all. I could feel the blood draining from my brain. Did I get the wrong set of keys? No, I definitely see a faint marking that says this set is for this door. Am I just reading it wrong? Should I go back to the key cabinet to look for the right one? That would mean a great loss of time. Just by being here, I'm already risking so much. Something that could ruin everything might happen at any moment. If I can't open this lock, do I have to go back to the administration office? If there were no other choice, it'd be a waste of time to spend another second here. The administration office wouldn't necessarily be empty at this time. Somebody might come in. I won't be able to look for the right key if that happens. I stood up quickly, as if electrified. I was almost in a panic, and so felt the urge to move. My instinct pushed me. I have to go back there as quickly as possible. It's dangerous to be here, and it's also dangerous if somebody comes into the administration office. I cooled my head, making it as chilly as possible, to repress my fear. Calm down, Shion. Mion wouldn't panic in this situation. Maybe I'm just mistaken? Why don't I try the keys one more time? The next moment, I felt a faint vibration in the air. Somebody was walking somewhere in the hallway. If it were a normal situation, I would have known I wouldn't run into them, since the footsteps were very far away. But at the time, I couldn't think calmly. Shit. Why am I panicking this much just because of footsteps? Calm down, calm down. I should be feeling excited instead. Calm down, calm down. I just need to do what I have to do. I should ignore the footsteps because they're not an immediate threat. Pretend they aren't there. I have to listen for something much more important right now. Shit. This key should be hard and cold, but it's pliable and hot. It feels like rubber. How could I stick this into the keyhole? Shit. It wasn't the key that was pliable. It's my fingers that were limp. Shit. The key sprung out of my hand and fell to the floor. It shouldn't have made any sound, because it was so pliable, but it made a tremendous metal noise as if somebody pushed over a cupboard. The sound almost stopped my heart. I felt dizzy for a while. I looked around afterwards to carefully see if I caused any disturbance to the surroundings. Calm down. Nothing's changed. I don't hear anything. So, am I safe? Calm down. Wait, I don't hear anything? What about those footsteps in the distance? Calm down! Are they looking for me after they notice the sound? Shit, what is that sound I'm hearing? Is it my sweat dripping on the floor? Shut up! How could I hear the sound of my sweat? Calm down. Calm the fuck down! I have to clarify. This isn't a prison or a detention center. It's a private school. Not a normal one, though. It costs a fortune just to get in. It's a boarding school that provides education from elementary school to university. Being for girls only, rather than a school, you could say it's a factory that manufactures ladies. Some of my classmates here have never even used public transportation. Really, it isn't normal. To me, saying, "How nice to see you," instead of just "hi" is already insane. And calling the teachers sisters gives me the creeps. I hate the morning and evening prayers, to say nothing of the Sunday Mass. I don't want to memorize the Bible passages, and the Holy Ghost gives me a rash. If I stayed in this institution, that's what I called the place, for many years, I'd either go crazy or be brainwashed. Most of the girls choose to be brainwashed, but I can't do that. After all, I was more impressed by the political schemes and international trade behind religious propagation than by the love of God which the Bible teaches. Because of that, I've been treated as a problematic child from the beginning. I experienced lots of disadvantages as a result. I realized that quickly, so I superficially pretended to be normal. However, I got tired of acting, so I started to reveal my true self from time to time. I became a problematic child once again. People started to treat me differently once again. It's fun to misbehave, but it wouldn't do anything for me in the long run. So why did I act that way? Why, even though I knew it was going to backfire on me later on? After examining my emotions, I realized that I completely had it with my surroundings. I was afraid of being brainwashed in this institution. I can't live here. I won't let them brainwash me. 6 months ago, I decided to escape this place. The moment I made up my mind, I started to feel alive again. I acted ladylike in order to deceive the sisters. Pretending became fun once I'd set my goal. It gave me the creeps when they told me with smiles that it was God's influence that I started to behave religiously. I laughed at them behind their backs. I took on my classmates' duties in order to understand the layout of the school and the schedules of the staff and guards. I soon found out that the security of the school was immensely tight because there were many daughters of important people living there. The guards walked their beat randomly. There were surveillance cameras everywhere. The system that kept out intruders ironically also worked to prevent escapees. But that excited me instead. I simulated how to avoid all the surveillance in my head many times. I drew an escape route in the corner of my notes during class and tested if it worked. I strove to acquire any necessary skills for the escape. It was all fun. After all, the situation was cathartic for me. That's who I am. No matter how hard they tried to brainwash me, I'd never change. I've been waiting for the moment of my escape, preparing physically and mentally. First, I needed the courage to escape. I had to be confident of the plan. I had to think deeply about it. I also needed skills and physical strength. I imagined all the possible obstacles and trained myself. It was funny because I was finally able to enjoy gym classes, even the long-distance runs. I needed a perfect plan, as well as the physical strength and skills necessary to execute it. Also, supported by those things, I needed determination. I made sure that I had all I needed and executed the plan. I decided to plant a seed in school before the appointed day. The seed was a rumor that one of the male teachers was having a relationship with a student. I won't go into the details now, but that can turn into an enormous problem in this school. The school is limited to girls precisely because their parents want to avoid those kinds of problems. Those parents are mostly important people from various positions. If the romance was a fact and leaked to the public, the principal would have to commit suicide in shame. In fact, even that might not be enough. In the world of girls, rumors spread fast, especially when they're separated from boys and obsessed with dirty thoughts. So this kind of rumor goes around really quickly. The sisters try to get rid of that kind of rumor, and they warn the students not to be swayed by it. But apparently they're the ones who are most swayed by those rumors. This means that I managed to make them furtively deal with something shady, without contacting families or the authorities. So if I disappeared in these circumstances, it looked like I ran away with some teacher. All the male teachers would deny it, of course. However, the school wouldn't believe what they said so easily. After all, there's a dirty rumor going around. By the time the school finds out about my escape, after they eliminate all the other possibilities, I'll be somewhere safe. I tried hard to spread the rumor that I was involved in the forbidden romance as widely as possible. The sisters questioned me a few times, but since the romance was something I'd made up, they couldn't find anything. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find any evidence. After 3 months, I was certain that I created a solid foundation. I swapped after-dinner duties with my classmates so I could adjust my schedule on this day. I was even able to fill them with suspicion about me by doing that. Now they'll definitely suspect I ran away with some male teacher. Tonight was the night. I began my chores after dinner. After lights out, somebody will find out about my disappearance. My generous roommate would probably wait about 10 minutes before she reported me to a sister, but no longer than that. I had about an hour tops, but that's enough for me. I took a step off my regular route. That was the first step towards my great escape. I calmed down and thought, the key shouldn't be wrong. This lock is old and firm. Isn't it possible that I put the right one in, but the lock was just stiff and I only thought I got the wrong one? I realized that my nervousness was making me clumsy. The gloves that I'm wearing to avoid leaving fingerprints must be getting in the way, too. I should try the keys one more time. I picked the most probable one and gently inserted it into the keyhole. It's stiff. If I twist it too strongly, I might break the key. The moment I thought of giving up, I felt something in my fingertips. The key worked! I slowly opened the door. I could hear the crickets. I don't have to hesitate now, but somehow I'm reluctant to step outside. I can still make excuses up to this point. It might look awkward, but I still can. But if I take a step outside now, there can be no excuse. If the guards find me, they'll take me to the office immediately. There have been escape attempts before. That's not really so strange. I don't think I'm the only heathen here. It's understandable that there have been people before who couldn't fit in this place. So the school is well aware of the possibility of escapees. I've heard rumors about what happens to those who were caught while attempting to escape. I don't want to believe any of those stories, though. You see, all the school's horror stories involve students who attempted escapes. Whatever. Bring it on. I'm not expecting to get a second chance anyway. There will always be only one chance. Things get serious beyond this door. I psyched myself up and pushed the door open. A strong smell was hanging in the air. Is that normal for the outside? I'd never smelled this strong grassy smell before. Is there something going on? Do I have to be wary of it? Should I go back and wait for another chance? That's silly. There's nothing strange going on. The smell is something I smell every day. I just wasn't aware of it. It's true, isn't it? Even though I pretend to be cool, I'm nothing but a nervous wreck. Calm down. Calm down, Shion. I can rely only on the map inside my head from this point onward. I researched the locations of all the surveillance cameras. I'm confident that I'll be able to avoid all of them, but I'm not sure about the guards. They pick their patrol routes randomly, after all. I have to take a chance. I can hide myself in most places, but there's an area where there's no way to hide for several meters. I concentrated to keep my senses keen. Well, I have to depend on my luck in the end. Even if I do my best, the guard might find me by mere chance. On the contrary, I might be able to get away no matter how unwisely I choose to move if I'm lucky. Damn, after all that effort, it just boils down to luck? This is a gamble, after all. When I realized that, I got excited. Yes, this is a gamble. I'm trying my luck. This is a game to test a determination to change my life. If somebody failed to escape from the school, that meant they didn't have enough luck to survive in the real world. But I'm different. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm testing my luck. Here goes, Shion! I ignored the noisy bugs and concentrated only on suspicious sounds. I heard no threats. The loudest sound wasn't the bugs, it was my own heartbeat. Crunch. Even my own footsteps were so loud they could break my eardrums. With each and every step, my overactive imagination tormented me with premonitions of unexpected run-ins with guards. Countless times that torture grew too hard to bear and I thought of running. But if I broke into a run, the noise I made would only draw suspicion. If anyone heard running at a time and place where people shouldn't be, they would realize something abnormal was happening. But if the footsteps they heard were just walking, then they'd likely think nothing of it. Of course, I don't plan on even letting them hear those footsteps. I tried to extend my senses to get as much information as possible. I didn't sense anyone's presence. I might have felt safer if I heard a guard in the distance. I'm worried that my senses might not be keen enough to detect everything. I'm built different. Somebody might be right behind me without me being aware of it. I didn't want to make any noise, so I stopped from time to time. It's like I'm constantly fidgeting. To stop or to run? Something within urged me to choose from either one. I can't choose to stop. I have to keep going quickly and stealthily. I'm already risking so much just by being here. Running, of course, would be absurd. I know that. The urge to run continued to bug me. My head was filled with those thoughts as I went through this dangerous territory. I succeed in passing through without running into anybody. I couldn't help but sit for a moment and exhale the rotten air from my lungs. My negative thoughts vanished quickly. Just a little more to go. Just a little more. Just through that bush over there is the fence that separates this place and the outside world. Once again, I strongly felt the urge to run. I suppressed that desire and carefully tackled the final step. The beautiful-looking fence didn't seem designed to prevent escapes. While I was worried that somebody might see me climbing up the fence, it fortunately didn't happen. It's even possible that this fence might have a touch sensor. It's too late now. It doesn't mean anything now since I'm already climbing up. From the top, the fence seemed about 7 feet high. I have to go down carefully, just like when I climbed up. I knew that logically, but I couldn't think that way anymore. I chose to jump off with no hesitation. Of course, I regretted my decision during the fall. I got scared because the flight was longer than I expected. I didn't land beautifully. I fell onto my butt. But there was nobody around to laugh, and I didn't have time to be embarrassed. I looked around to see if anybody heard my landing. It's weird hearing me use a female voice for a character's narrative POV. Well, Shion's POV, so... I looked around to see if anybody heard my landing. Even the crickets weren't interested in the sound I made. I felt relieved. I looked at my watch. 5 minutes till 8 p.m. It was just a 15-minute escape. Putting a number to it really made it obvious how short it had been. Looking back, most of the time I was asking myself questions and hesitating. It is really annoying that I have this, like, I don't know what you'd call it, like, scratchy quality in my voice, though. I think it's from my throat clearing habit. Let's see. I can't help myself. Looking back, most of the time I was just asking myself questions and hesitating. I guess I worry too much, but I can't be too relaxed just yet. There's no guarantee that I fooled all the cameras. This place isn't a bank. There won't be a fire alarm going off even if the guards did see me. It's possible they're rushing this way now, right now. I can't enjoy the air of freedom yet. I hid myself in the darkness and waited. There's still time left until the rendezvous. I watched the school premises while waiting, but it looked like nothing strange was going on. The building was lit up, and the beautiful Western-style architecture made it hard to believe that it was a school. It should be armed with electrifying wires, searchlights, and guard dogs like the prison it is. I thought I'd experience a surge of school memories in a situation like this, but it didn't happen. That sort of thing only happens when you have good memories. I have no good memories of this school, so there's nothing to remember. But if I could pick a series of images to recall, it'd be the luxurious dinners we had every night. So my memories would be nothing but international cuisine, Japanese, Chinese, French, and so on. What the hell? That's just too funny. I burst into laughter. At that point, I heard a car approaching. I crouched in the darkness. The plate number is the same as I was expecting. That's the car. I jumped out and rushed to the passenger side, then opened the door and got in. Nice to see you, Shion-san. The driver was a man of early old age. He'd be angry if he heard me say that, though. He thinks he's still middle-aged. He looked at my face and learned that I succeeded. He smiled. Ah, the air feels so fresh. I want to eat a burger for a start. I heard they serve excellent food in the school, but I suppose you were served nothing but gruel, huh? No way, dumbass. I was just kidding. Step on the gas if you have time to laugh at me. As you wish. Kasai really did laugh out loud. After telling me to buckle up, he accelerated. The cathedral-like school disappeared from the mirror in an instant. It disappeared so quick that I didn't have time for a surge of dinner memories. Goodbye, my lovely school days. I'm gonna fill my stomach with junk food from now on. I'll forever be free from the table manners you taught me. Aha! Serves you right. As we drove, the scenery began to change. Soon we were surrounded by vast fields of crops and a few streetlights. It reminded me that this was just the countryside of Japan, not Europe. Are you hungry? Would you like me to stop somewhere to eat? That's okay, I already ate. I lied. I'm actually a bit hungry. I didn't eat much at dinner to avoid slowing myself down with a full stomach. I appreciated Kasai's offer, but I didn't feel like taking the time to eat while we were still in enemy territory. It's late, so you'll find only vending machines at the highway rest stops. Oh, I've heard there are hamburger and oden vending machines nowadays. Huh? What the hell? Will that dispense a cup and the ingredients like a coffee vending machine? That's gross! I don't think it's like that. It usually comes in a can. Sorry. I can't stand canned food. Still? I thought you might have grown out of it. I haven't, because I can't. Shut up. Why are you laughing? Kasai chuckled. He must have been trying to help me relax. He isn't usually so talkative. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna get some sleep. How do I recline this? Look for the lever on the lower left part of the seat. Can you find it? Oh, here it is. Here I go. Kasai laughed again. Did I do something funny? No. It's just that the way you talked sounded like Mion-san. Well, obviously. Mion and I are identical twins. We're perfect copies of each other. When I react to something, so will Mion. When Mion reacts to something in a certain situation, I'll react the same way. How's sis? I believe she's fine. I only see her when I bring your father to the family councils. That's right, she doesn't live in our parents' home anymore. She's living with Grandma in Hinamizawa now, isn't she? She moved into the main house around the same time you started going to that school. I responded with disinterest, even though I was the one to ask about her in the first place. Vending machines really went crazy with the stuff they contain in Japan. Yeah, you can get pizzas from vending machines and underwear. The main house is where Oryo, the current leader of the Sonozaki family, lives. That's my grandma, who I call a hag. But when we use the phrase the main house, that usually means more than just a dwelling. What Kasai refers to is the same thing. Did she change? You mean Mion-san? Yeah, I think she has to have changed if she's living so closely with Grandma. Kasai chuckled yet again. He knows I hate my grandma. I haven't noticed any changes. She's still the Mion-san, you know. What about me? Did I change? No, not at all. Kasai responded quickly with a smirk. I haven't seen him for a while, though. It's not fun if he answers this quickly. I glared at him, and then he burst out laughing. You haven't changed at all. That's admirable, since you've been in such a strict school for so long. Damn it! Laugh as much as you want. I'm going to sleep. There's a blanket in the back. Please make use of it. Thanks. I grabbed the blanket and rolled up in it. I'm exhausted, but I can't go to sleep. It's strange. Or maybe not. I must be tired from the escape. It's just that I'm still feeling tense. So I have to declare it once again, if only to calm myself. I'm sleeping! I totally am! Alright, it's the third time you've said that. Do I have to give you permission to sleep? You're talking too much. I can't go to sleep if you don't quiet down. I apologize, princess. I'll keep quiet now. This interaction with Kasai reminded me of the old peaceful days in Okinomiya. Well, I don't really know if I can call those days peaceful. We were in the middle of the dam protests back then, after all. We all united together, and now that I think about it, we pulled a lot of pretty dangerous stunts. If the authorities ever find out what I did, I'd never escape going to juvie. Well, at least half the people in Hinamizawa would be off to prison. We didn't think of them as criminal acts, though. It was a war. It might also have been a festival where every person in Hinamizawa joined together in protest. It was a struggle, but it was also fun. It was fun to throw stones at the riot police with everybody. We hid ourselves in somebody's home when they chased after us. We'd even go crowd around the police station, demanding the release of our arrested comrades. When we snuck into the construction site and sabotaged it, it felt more like we were playing at war than conducting one. I got so excited back then. I felt united with my fellow members, even though they were strangers to me, and that memory warms my heart. Yes, the way it felt back then was like helping everyone to carry a sacred palanquin through the village, getting all sweaty and exhausted together, until we all collapsed face first on the ground and shared our excitement and cheers with unfamiliar faces over tea. I was just a kid back then. I remember accompanying young men who worked for my dad out to the village to do various bad things. I was arrested a few times. It didn't feel any different, though, that when I was called to the teacher's office for forgetting my homework. The other villagers were furious about the dam project, but for those of us who were kids at the time, it's a pretty fun memory. All that came to a sudden end a few years ago. It wasn't only the power of the protest that ended the dam construction project. The Sonozaki family and my dad's organization had worked secretly in the shadows. This is top secret information in the Sonozaki family, but it's said they may or may not have kidnapped the Minister of Construction's grandson in order to blackmail him. The grandson was found a few days after the abduction. He was found in the mountains of Yagouchi. He didn't simply disappear, and he wasn't demoned away. That means some kind of deal was made secretly. A year after that, the dam construction plan was halted indefinitely. The police suspected the villagers' involvement and investigated, but they couldn't find any leads. The villagers never betrayed each other. They'd do anything to protect their fellow man. They fabricated fake alibis and fake evidence. It was easy to deceive the police. The car suddenly shook, snapping me out of it. It must have run over a bump or something. I suddenly realized my expression was a very happy one for some reason. Ah, I must be looking forward to going home. Shion-san, are you awake? What is it? Would you like me to take you to the house in Okinomiya? Where else would you be taking me? I answered straightforwardly with a frown. Kasai then also chose to reply straightforwardly. It was the family head who decided on your enrollment in St. Lucia. And you ran away from there. You do understand the situation you're in. The school Grandma chose didn't fit me, that's all. Shion-san. I know. Shut up. As the head of the Sonozaki family, the hag's decisions are absolute. They're nothing like, say, the 3-second rule. Worse, the decision to confine me to an academy far away from the Sonozaki family was made before I was even born. Shion was the name they gave me. My sister Mion has a character that means demon in her name. That was to signify that she's the successor of demons. In other words, she would be the successor to the Sonozaki family and its demonic bloodline. My name, Shion, has a character that means temple in it. This means that I was destined to take the veil and be confined in a temple. Thinking of that reminds me of how much I hate this name of mine. For starters, the person known as Shion is an abominable being to the Sonozaki family, because it meant the family had 2 heirs. I don't have to cite the countless historical examples to explain. It's easy to imagine how that could prove troublesome for succession. According to our long-held family traditions, one of the twins was to be strangled to death right after birth. Unbelievable, isn't it? What that means is that I have to be grateful just to be alive and breathing to this day. I heard the hag actually put her hands around my neck right after I was born. I don't know what exchange took place in that moment. Maybe some brave relative of mine managed to get her to stop. Or maybe she was in an extremely good mood that day. Then don't try to strangle me. We're twins. There are no apparent differences between us, but the first one out of my mom's stomach was named Mion, and the second one that drew the short straw and got named Shion. Everyone else was desperate to tell us apart, but we sisters just found that awfully ridiculous. There wasn't any difference between us. No one could tell us apart, even if we only swapped hats. We wondered why all the grown-ups were trying to see the differences. Well, our fun as twins didn't last forever. One day they created an undeniable, clear distinction between Mion and Shion. Mion went to the main Sonozaki house to live with the hag and to learn how to become the successor, and I was to be confined at St. Lucia's. I have no objections to Sis's inheritance. I used to be jealous, but now I feel that having to learn about and follow the traditions would just make me tired. I even feel sorry for Mion. So I'm not going to be a threat to the family, even if I'm back in Okinomiya. But the hag doesn't seem to think that way. She thinks of me as some kind of evil omen. That's why she wanted to keep me away from her. That doesn't matter to me. I don't want to see her face either. I don't care if she doesn't allow me to enter Hinamizawa. She can charge me 10,000 yen per step I take there, but I want her to let me live in Okinomiya, where I grew up. When I was little, I was in Hinamizawa, but I don't remember it much, and I'm not very attached to it. I do have good memories of my elementary school days in Okinomiya. The town isn't very sophisticated, but I kind of like it there. If you go back to Okinomiya, somebody from the family will notice you. And then they'll report you to the main house. Are you worried that Grandma will hear about me? One heir always randomly gets poisoned or murders when it comes to history, so I can understand Shion's worries. Yeah, and she said that it's happened before in the Sonozaki family as well. That might be a problem. I hope you understand the situation. What, Kasai? Are you telling me to go back to that awful place? No, I'm not. What I'm trying to say is... You want to know whether I'm prepared or not. I just hope you understand what might happen. Well, I know what you mean. You'll be held responsible for helping me escape if things go bad, right? You should caress your pinky finger while you can, Kasai, before they take it away from you. You should look forward to being rolled up in a futon mat and thrown into the Onigafuchi swamp in that case. Maybe they'll send you to the torture room in the garden. I heard there's a big torture room in the main Sonozaki house. I've never seen it, though. I heard they used to torture and kill the enemies of the village in there. It's just awful, really. I hope I don't end up as a victim of that place. Okay. Everything's gonna be alright. You really resemble your mother. In the way you take chances, I mean. That's normal. She's my mom. My dad and mom will be furious if they find out about my escape. I'm more afraid of them than of the hag. I don't want to go into the details, but my dad is part of the Yakuza. He's in charge of the organization which covers the Shishibone area. He's in a very important position. So is Kasai here. He's an old friend of Dad who really trusts him. I don't know if this is true, but I heard Kasai used to be very aggressive, though he's gentle now. I also heard he has tons of scars. He was in charge of a few large areas, but after he was injured badly in a fight, he retired. Now he's my dad's consultant, aka a drinking buddy. He was my caretaker in my childhood, and now I feel like he's my butler. At first I thought that my dad asked him to supervise me, so I hated him, but in time I started to feel like he was on my side. This is just a hunch, but I think Kasai used to be in love with my mom. My dad, mom, and Kasai were in a love triangle. Though my dad took the lead in the end, Kasai couldn't leave my mom entirely, so he stayed around as my dad's friend. I can tell that from the way he acts. He's seeing my mom in me. That's why he says I look like my mom every now and then. It kinda gave me the creeps at first, but he isn't a bad guy at all. He's actually pretty funny. I only found that out after I got used to him. So when I thought about escaping, I naturally turned to him. I contacted him in an early stage of my plan and arranged to meet him today. You could call him a conspirator. It's not surprising he's worried about my return to Okinomiya. Considering the rules and traditions, cutting off his pinky finger isn't too far from reality. I might be rolled up in a futon mat and thrown into the swamp for real, too. Even so, there's only one place for me to return. I'm going to Okinomiya and nowhere else. That's my hometown. This might be a kind of homesickness, but I don't care what it looks like. So, what are you going to do? The Sonozaki family is everywhere. Well, I'll lay low for now. If somebody sees me, I'll tell them I'm Mion. Then what? She was exposing everyone's business? Yeah. Then after things calm down a little bit, I'll start talking to my closest relatives. I know they'll be on my side. I know some people who covered for me when I had a fight with my dad once. I know some people who, yeah. I see. You're trying to create a fait accompli, I think. A fait accompli so that the Sonozaki main house will have to accept you later on. I hope that works. It will! There are many people who are opposed to the idea of enrolling me in that school. That decision was obviously made because of the hag's hatred towards me. Don't you agree, Kasai? Well, yes. I thought that decision was excessive. She couldn't make the right decision because she was suffering from menopause! All the fuss surrounding the dam protest drove her nuts. Kasai smiled. I couldn't go to sleep after all, even though I was rolled up in a blanket. Even though I told Kasai to shut up, I kept talking to him. In time, I got tired of talking. As I could feel the car run smoothly on the highway, Kasai spoke to me again. Shion-san, look. I was so tired that I ignored him. I wondered what he wanted me to look at, but I wasn't that interested. Yet I opened my eyes slightly and saw a sign quickly pass by. Kasai probably wanted me to see that sign. It had an illustration of azaleas around the letters that said, "Welcome to Shishibone City." My hometown is coming right up. Chapter 5, Meakashi. Shion Sonozaki. Keiichi Maebara, Renaryugu, Mion Sonozaki, Satoko Hojo, Rika Furude. Satoshi Hojo, Kuraudo Ooishi, Jiro Tomitake, Mio Takano, Kyosuke Irie, Tatsuyoshi Kasai, Rumiko Chie, Akane Sonozaki. Higurashi when they cry Kai. This song was actually used, or a version of this song was used in Mario's Mystery Meat for the first level. Fun fact. Oh god, loud. I don't have much to say, I'm just enjoying this intro. New tips unlocked. The notebook's beginning. Achievement unlocked. Goodbye, sister. Let's read new tips. Ooh. Spooky tips menu. Music. Oh. Never mind, it's just a version of you. That's the name of that song. June 1982. Satoshi Hojo disappeared several days after the Watanagashi festival. There were 3 possible reasons for his disappearance. One possibility is that it was an accident. Dead bodies sometimes end up in irrigation channels a few months after hit-and-run incidents. But since the police did a thorough search of the area and hadn't found his body, this possibility seems small. The second possibility is a self-motivated disappearance. Satoshi-kun has been living in dire circumstances. His close friends actually heard him imply he might run away. The police thought he skipped town after killing his aunt. That seemed plausible considering that aspect, but the police arrested another person for the murder, so this hypothesis might also be considered false. The last possibility is that he was involved in the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. It's also called the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. He fell victim to it and disappeared. Unless Oyashiro-sama's occult power is actually verified, this curse must be the act of humans. It's only natural to assume that Satoshi-kun was made to disappear by someone's will. So the question is, whose? The possibilities are quite limited. The culprit is either a member of the Sonozaki family, a member of the 3 families, or one of their many relatives. The police can assume that easily. I need to think beyond that. Who did it? How did it happen? And why did it have to be done? Why did Satoshi-kun fall victim? What was the motive? Who gave out that order? Who actually did it? The mastermind, the culprit, and the truth. All are in reach of my grasp. Maybe I'll find them right behind my back. But even so, I can't reach everywhere. There are parts of my back I have to make an effort to reach, clenching my teeth and cracking my joints so that the tips of my fingers can barely touch them. The truth is hidden in places like those. I'm writing this because I need to organize my thoughts and memories. Nobody will read it other than myself. But if somebody does, that means that either I threw these notes away because I no longer needed them, or I fell victim to the curse of Oyashiro-sama in the middle of my attempt to solve the mystery. If it was the former, that's okay. But if it was the latter, please, I want you to help me. Please help this powerless young girl. Let's go ahead and make a save. (1982) Anno Domini. The 4th year of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as Oyashiro-sama's curse, 1 year prior to Keiichi Maebara's transfer. I didn't hear a wake-up chime. I'm not in school anymore. My brain is half asleep, but I'm aware of that. Waking up at the same time as the chime would go off at school doesn't feel good. I can't go back to sleep after this. Still, I'm not going to live a torturous school life anymore. I can make today either happy or boring. It's up to me. Yay! That's really positive. I feel like I'm alive for the first time in a while. I didn't have any other clothes, so I was still wearing the school track uniform. It's supposed to have been designed by some famous Italian person, but it just looks plain to me. It really doesn't feel great to still be in clothes from that school. I want to enjoy my freedom as soon as possible. I especially don't want to walk around outside wearing it. I should have Kasai bring me some new clothes later, and I should think of redecorating this room. After all, this is going to be my castle from now on. This is a room in a gorgeous apartment building in the suburbs of Okinomiya. The property is one a realtor and my dad's conglomerate obtained after foreclosure due to some sort of dispute. Most of the residents moved out during that, so while there are plenty of rooms, it's a lonely complex that feels devoid of people. Plus, with the exception of the manager and a scant 1 or 2 others, all the residents are shady-looking people connected to my dad. It probably won't be much longer before the virtuous residents are driven out. The apartment I'm living in used to be the room they'd use for viewings, so it looks like a room in a business hotel. It's fully furnished, but lacking in daily necessities. I'll buy those things over time, though. It's better that way anyway. It'll make me feel more like my own room. I nodded to myself. It might have looked stupid, but it's helped psych me up. At the school, there was a TV only in the common room, and we weren't allowed to watch any cable channels. I zapped through all those channels as a form of emancipation. It was early in the morning, so nothing interesting was on. But I enjoyed it anyway. Commercials are fun to watch. Kasai dropped by with lunch right when I started to feel hungry. Good morning, Shion-san. Did you sleep well last night? Sleeping on the couch was a bit too uncomfortable. As a Japanese person, I want to sleep in a futon on the floor. This pickled radish is good. That's good to hear. Please, let me know what you need later on. I'll try to get as much as I can. Thanks. Oh, but you don't need to worry so much about me. I chose this life for myself anyway. And your wallet wouldn't last if I started extorting you, right? I have to be serious about my plan. I can't let myself take advantage of Kasai's wallet forever. I think I'm going to start a part-time job. I have to earn my own living. This is the life I chose, so naturally I have to take care of it myself. That's reassuring to hear. But are you sure? If you go outside, eventually someone in the family will discover you. I gave that a little thought, which is why I'll need Mion's help. Kasai, would you mind calling the main house for me? When Mion answers, pass me the receiver. Oh, well, whatever you say. What could be your plan? Kasai dialed the number. It's funny to me that we're calling the main house, even though that's the place I most want to avoid at the moment. Hello? Good morning. Is this Mion-san? It's been a while. This is Kasai. Yes. Good morning. Could you hold for a moment? I'm letting someone else on the phone. I take the handset. Hello? Can you tell who this is? That voice! But that can't be true. Shion's dorm doesn't allow private calls. You can't be her. Yeah, they forbid outside calls at the academy. But you're talking to me right now. Even my dim-witted older sister should understand what that means. Did you sneak out of the school? How? That's not important. I really missed you, sis. Shion! That was as far as I could take it, and Mion had hit her limit too. We both burst into laughter, unable to keep up our act. It's been a while since we laughed out loud with each other like this. It's been forever, Shion! Seriously, what's happened with you? There's not much else to it. I haven't lied or anything. Wait, then you really ran away? Ooh, great job! The security wasn't tight enough to keep me locked up in there. Maybe the school should be grateful you escaped quietly. If you were serious, it'd be easy for you to blow up the whole building to make your escape. Well, I couldn't have done that, but I might have set it on fire. Kasai smiled at us in amazement, his face a blend of amusement and exasperation. Is it okay to talk to you now? It's alright. Granny's out for a lesson. She's coming home later in the evening. That's good. We should get together and talk soon. Just over the phone for today, though. Okay. Did anybody report my escape to our grandmother? Nope. We've heard nothing. I pass along all the calls and guests for the main family now, so no news reaches Granny without going through me. I'm sure she doesn't know. Wow, that's awesome. You really sound like the next leader of the Sonozaki family. You know I don't like that. You should have taken my place. You're the one with the demon, aren't you? Well, keep giving it your all. I'll be rooting for you from the shadows. Anyway, that's not important now. You sound so indifferent. Well, that's okay, I guess. If you hear anything about me, give Kasai a call, okay? I'd like to give you my number here, but I'll keep it a secret for the time being. Sorry. Alright.
If Granny hears you fled the school, there'll be all kinds of trouble. I'll be on the lookout for now, and I'll let Kasai-san know if something happens.
Thanks. I also have a favor to ask.
I figured you would. Oh, money's out of the question, okay?
I never thought I could pester you for money. I just want to ask you for a little help with my part-time job.
I see. So that's it then. What exactly do you need?
We can communicate fast in a situation like this. We don't have to get into details because we know what's on each other's minds.
Uncle Yoshiro's on my side, isn't he? I'm gonna try and see if I can't get a part-time job at one of the businesses he owns. Then I'll call you when I know my shift.
So I just have to disappear while you're working, right?
That's a little taxing.
What are you saying, sis? Are you turning down your only sister's request? Seriously?
Alright, I'll do it. I wouldn't want to see how you'd retaliate if I turned you down.
Thanks. I'll buy you a cake from Schlank Bertha's. I'll throw in tons of pretty tarts, too.
Shion, Schlank Bertha closed last fall.
Huh? Is that so?
Yeah, the owner had a stroke. He reopened the store once, but he got sick again. So he had to shut it down.
I see. That's a shame. I won't be able to eat their Mont Blanc cakes to my heart's content anymore. I was disappointed that my favorite cake shop had closed down, but more so that this town had changed without my knowing while I was gone. It was kind of regrettable. Are there any other changes I don't know about?
Yeah, there are some. I'll tell you when we meet up next time.
Thanks. I'll tell you about my school life. Let's set a date. I'll call you.
Alright, I'll see you then.
Mion,
What is it?
how are you?
I'm fine.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm hanging up now.
Okay, see ya.
It's really been a while since I last talked to her. I put down the phone and heaved a sigh as Kasai brought in some tea. So, how did it go? Do you remember Uncle Yoshiro, who was in favor of me staying? I'll talk to him about my escape, and ask him if he can hire me to work at one of his stores. Are you sure? Some other relative might find out. That's why I asked Sis a favor. I'll contact her when my shift is set, and she'll disappear while I'm working. Do you get the picture? Kasai looked puzzled. It's not really that difficult to grasp. It's simple. If somebody finds me at work, I'll tell them that I'm Mion. Do you get it now? Normal people wouldn't buy this kind of plan, but Kasai knows too well how easy it is for my sis and me to trade places. That's audacious, or shrewd, I should say. I'm impressed. Is that a compliment, Kasai? Kasai looked amazed. If things go south, it'll affect him too. Considering the rules of my dad's profession, he won't be able to get away with just a mere apology. That's why he doesn't want me to do anything too risky. I think I have to make it up to him since he helped me escape even knowing that risk. Alright, no problem. If I find somebody talking bad about you, I'll beat him up. Thank you so much. I knew I could rely on you, Uncle Yoshiro. Uncle Yoshiro pounded his chest with his fist after offering me his assurance. He seemed glad that I turned to him first. I'd be happy to help, since I'm so impressed that you're trying to support yourself. If you were here for money, I'd turn you into your grandmother right away. What? You're scaring me, Uncle. I knew he was reliable. He understood my situation straight away and promised to help. Manager, here's the shift chart. I'll put it here. One of the store clerks brought out a work schedule. There are many things I'm unfamiliar with written on it. So, how much can you work? That depends on our respective schedules. I hope I can get in when I want to. Hey, that sounds a little irresponsible. But I know you're in a difficult situation. The portion will be at least 2 pinkies. God. I'm depending on Mion for my work. Our schedules have to match. Of course, Uncle Yoshiro understood that, but I also knew he couldn't afford a selfish part-timer who only works when she wants to. In the end, he decided to hire me as an office helper, not an official worker. As a temp, I wouldn't have a work schedule. My uncle also decided to pay me out of his own pocket. It's fine as long as I can make enough to support myself. Sure, sure. I expect to get what I'm paying for, okay? And don't call me uncle in the office either.
Alright, manager.
Thanks for hiring me. Good, you get it. Once all the business talk was over, my uncle hounded me with all kinds of questions. He asked me things like, what was it like in a prestigious girls' boarding school, and so on. Apparently there were all kinds of rumors going around about the St. Lucia Academy I was confined to, and everyone was curious about it. I added a few embellishments of my own as I explained how unordinary life at that school was. My uncle looked extremely delighted to hear all the little details about life in a secret garden for girls. Horny bastard. Once my uncle was satisfied, it was my turn to ask all kinds of questions. I wanted to know if anything peculiar had happened while I was gone. I won't be able to act like Mion unless I can fill in the gap of information left in the past 2 years. There haven't been many big changes. It's been quiet since the end of the dam conflict. I went to the academy only a bit after they froze the project. There was still a bit of tension then. Even after they shut down construction, things were still tense because the project wasn't entirely cancelled. But the Onigafuchi Guardians disbanded about a year later. There was a big ceremony held at the shrine. That's when the dam conflict officially ended.
That's right after I was imprisoned. Is everybody slacking now that the conflict is over?
I guess you all had fun playing at war back then during the dam protests, didn't you? Try to imagine how much suffering the adults went through every time they had to come pick up their kids from the police station.
Well, I can't deny that. It was like a festival for us.
Uncle Yoshiro seemed exasperated at how differently kids and adults treated the conflict.
Oh yeah, there was that dismemberment murder, wasn't there? The one where that fucking jerk of a construction manager got split into pieces. They still haven't caught the culprit behind that, have they? Did they finally catch him?
Come to think of it, I don't think they've caught him yet, no.
It happened on the night of Watanagashi, didn't it? I remember everyone making a fuss about it being Oyashiro-sama's curse. That was pretty scary for us kids.
Yeah, Oyashiro-sama's curse. That happened the year after, too.
That's right! That was scary too, wasn't it? Who was it again? The guy who supported the dam died in an accident, right? Hojo, wasn't it? And it happened on the day of Watanagashi once again. Everyone went crazy, saying it had to be a curse. That was horrifying. Definitely. The construction manager that everyone hated was killed and dismembered on the night of the Watanagashi festival. That incident on its own was more than intense enough for us kids. Worse, part of his body was never found, which made it almost a ghost story amongst us. We seriously believed that the severed right arm was roaming in search of the body it belonged to. It didn't take long for the rumor of Oyashiro-sama's curse to become a topic of discussion among occult researchers and the like, considering the circumstantial factors. Even so, the rumor faded away after about a year. After the dam project was officially frozen, we held Watanagashi purely as a festival. But the curse struck again. The victim was a pro-dam activist who lived in Hinamizawa by the name of Hojo. He and his wife were on a trip when they fell from a cliff to their deaths. It was considered an accident. Technically, police were still searching for the wife's body. If I remember right, they never did find it, did they? Once again, the man most worthy of Oyashiro-sama's curse fell victim on the night of the Watanagashi festival. So the fuss over Oyashiro-sama's curse rose up again. Until then, Oyashiro-sama wasn't considered very important. At least in the world of us kids, it was just the name of the object of worship in the shrine. Nothing more than that. I'd seen boys peeing on the archway, and I once stuck my hand into the offertory box. The existence of a god didn't matter much to us, but after 2 consecutive occurrences, the kids no longer doubted the existence of a curse. We were all shaking in fear of Oyashiro-sama. Everybody suddenly became interested in the old stories about him, too. We quietly listened to the musty old stories the elders had to tell, and we started genuinely believing in the tales of Oyashiro-sama's miracles, which any of us would have laughed away before. Oyashiro-sama's rules are awfully simple and clear. Enemies treading into Hinamizawa will be cursed. Villagers leaving the village will be cursed. What defined the village was terribly vague. Were we never allowed to leave Hinamizawa village? Was going to Okinomiya still safe? Was a single step enough to be out? Was a 3-day, 2-night hot spring trip still safe? We kids tried to draw a line. It was decided in the end that if you had a house in Hinamizawa or Okinomiya, you were safe, and it was okay to go on trips if you had a house in either area. I know it's weird, but those rules were made up by kids after all. According to those rules, I'd be cursed since I lived at a boarding school in such a remote area. I couldn't say it out loud because I felt embarrassed, but in fact, I was a little scared of the curse.
Yeah, it happened again the year after.
It sure is scary when it happens 2 years in a row. I still believe in Ooishi-sama's power.
Shion-chan, what are you saying? Don't you know?
No? About what?
Oh, right. You went to that school before it happened. That's why you don't know.
Uncle Yoshiro grimaced as if he said too much, as though he'd mentioned something I shouldn't know about. What is it? You can't leave me hanging like that.
Well, I think you're mature enough now.
Hey, if you think my body looks underdeveloped, you should see an eye doctor. Either that or you're a pedo.
Okay, I'll talk. It happened again the year after that.
What happened? What are you talking about? When I was very little, I always had this tick before I heard something bad. It was like a gnome who lived inside me was giving me a warning, like he was poking me with a small needle. When I felt this tick before my parents called me, they'd always either chide me or tell me something bad. So I used to run away when I felt it, but my senses seem to have grown dull over the years. Even though my gnome poked at me, I just sat there.
The year after the death of the Hojos, it happened again. Last year, in other words.
Did it happen on the day of Watanagashi? Again? 3 years in a row?
That's right. You know there's a shrine in Hinamizawa? The Furude shrine? The priest suddenly died on the night of the festival. They said that the cause of death was an unknown illness. And the same night, his wife threw herself into the swamp. There was a big uproar. The mayor even had to hold an emergency meeting.
I should fill up my drink. I'll be right back. I don't think the bit about the illness is true, but his death was very sudden. The priest was busy preparing for the festival, and he'd gotten sick around that time. So I guess he died of a heart attack or something. But it's just crazy that somebody died on the day of Watanagashi again. It's the third time in a row. It's unbelievable that so many people have died on the exact same day. The coroner didn't find anything unusual about the cause of death, so nobody suspected that anything was wrong. But you're right that the whole situation is abnormal. Only the people who are likely to be cursed died on the day of the festival. There must be something behind this. The Nintendo Direct starts soon. Yep. No spoilers, please, as I put in the pinned message. If you guys want to go leave to watch that during the stream, that's okay. But I'm deliberately waiting so I can watch it with Josh when he gets home from work in probably like 2.5 hours. Only the people who were likely to be cursed died on the day of the festival. There must be something behind this. Oh, that reminds me, actually. I should probably mute servers for a few hours. Yeah. Whether it's a conspiracy or a curse, there has to be. I decided to meet up with Mion at the library near the Okinomiya train station. It's not that I don't trust Mion, but I don't want to let her know where I live. Not many people use this library, so I won't see anyone from Hinamizawa here. It's very convenient for meeting someone in secret. After we discussed my life plan and work schedule, we moved to small talk. I've been away from this town for years. Things have changed. I asked Mion about those changes in detail in order to fill in the gaps. While talking about various things, I brought up what Uncle Yoshiro had told me about Oyashiro-sama's curse. Even before I left town, the curse had already struck twice. The dismemberment murder on the first year left quite an impact. And the year after, the pro-dam activist couple fell off the cliff on the day the villagers were enjoying their first Watanagashi festival since the dam project was indefinitely frozen. Just gonna watch a summary tomorrow? I see. This one also left quite the impact. The evil construction site manager was punished, and the next year the traitor to the village met the same fate. If it had happened only once, people would have concluded that it was just a bizarre coincidence, but when it happened 2 years in a row, people were far more likely to believe it was a curse. I know up to that part, and after I left town, the curse struck again for the third time. People talked about the curse more intensely than ever, both in Hinamizawa and Okinomiya. I have to rethink this. Oyashiro-sama's curse has drastically gained credibility while I was away. It was still unclear with the first two incidents, but after it continued for 3 years straight, people's doubts changed to convictions. Even though the priest who died on the third year wasn't an enemy of the villagers, the fact that people in Hinamizawa didn't care for him much added even more credibility to the idea. Wasn't the priest hated by a few? Especially by the committee members? Yeah. They criticized him for being a fence-sitter. Toward the end of the dam conflict, the protesters were all taking aggressive stances. So they didn't like how soft he was being. The priest had looked strict and scary. The way he spoke was always so formal, but in reality he was very warm and reserved. Maybe it was because he was a son-in-law, having married into his family. I'm sure the priest and his personality were the perfect fit for managing the shrine that was used during summer festivals and village meetings. But that gathering spot-style atmosphere of the shrine changed completely when the dam war broke out and it became the headquarters for the Onigafuji Guardians. Prior to the dam protests, hardly anyone worshipped Oyashiro-sama. Of course, the devout elders paid worship to him, but the average person treated our god like how you treat fortune-telling. Once the dam protests began, Oyashiro-sama was suddenly hauled out as a symbol of the village's resistance. Tracing the Oyashiro-sama faith back to its roots, it was an exclusive, elitist faith that believed its members were descended from a holy ancestor, different from the masses at the foot of the mountain, and that those tainted masses should never come near the village. Of course, such self-centered ideology wasn't acceptable anymore in peaceful post-war Japan, so this doctrine was abandoned over time. Still, that idea remained, and they trudged it back up to fan the flames of nationalism and unite the town against the dam project. With the revival of those ideas, things only grew more radical by the day, and it didn't take very long for the Onigafuji Guardians to become aggressive. After that, we were in a state of war. 100 million, burning as one, kill the white savages, want naught but victory. Adults and kids both were gnawing at the bit, avid to repel the foreign invaders. Describing it like that makes it sound kind of awful, like a reminder of the dark times of wartime Japan. But like I said before, for us kids it felt less like a war and more like a village-wide festival. Yet despite calling it a festival, dissenters were treated coldly. Their heartlessness lived up to the expression wartime regime. The Hojo couple, who voiced their acceptance of the dam project in the midst of that atmosphere, were truly brave. Then on the second year of the curse, they died in an accident, and everyone believed it was Oyashiro-sama's curse without question. So they were branded traitors and enemies of the village. The Hojo couple faced worse than just being ostracized as traitors. Everyone gave them the cold shoulder and talked behind their backs. The only person who didn't treat them badly was the priest. While the priest never objected to the anti-dam movement, he also never objected to the Hojo couple's advocacy for accepting the government's eviction and restitution to rebuild new lives. Those unforgivable hojos became a slogan as the three families, especially the Sonozakis, united the village by turning them into scapegoats. So they must have found it very shameful to have a fellow member of the three families approve of that, especially when it was the priest of the shrine that had become a symbol for the dam protests. As central figures in Hinamizawa, the three families were the backbones of the Onigafuchi Guardians, so a difference of opinion was undesirable, and the priest was never accused of anything, but secretly people whispered that he was a heretic, that he was unfit to serve as Oyashiro-sama's priest, that Oyashiro-sama's curse would soon strike him down, along with other rumors. Don't you think the priest was more mature than those around him? He was pretty cool, managing to keep his head and remain neutral while everyone around him grew fervent. I thought Mion would share my opinion when I chimed back in, so when Mion gave me a forced smile and didn't agree with me, I was taken by surprise. If he were really mature, I think he would have cooperated with the others. He should have appeased them. He wasn't just the head priest, he was also the head of the Furude family. That was the time when all of Hinamizawa needed to be united, so having one of the families who were supposed to serve as examples disturb that harmony was... I don't know if that should be called mature. It's hard for me to tell. I was taken aback. I barely managed to say the following. Even though we're identical twins, we still had our own unique identities. Every now and then our opinions differed, but usually only over some trivial matter. We've never had a difference of opinion this big. It wasn't an enjoyable feeling. I decided to probe her some more. I don't really like that word you used, appease. What are you trying to say? Are you saying the priest should have thought of the village as a whole and kept his opinions a secret? Meaning people shouldn't assert the self before the whole? That is a very, like, Japanese thing. A very big aspect of that culture is this, you know, the individual doesn't matter and the, harmony of the group is what's important or whatever. I kind of hate that idea. But I'm very, very much an individualist. I'm not going that far. It's just, I thought that as a member of the three families, he should have acted more carefully. That's what I mean. Mion faltered a bit as my tone grew more like a cross-examination. I realized I was speaking a bit too harshly. What Mion expressed was probably the more mature opinion on our scale. When everyone needs to work together to stand out to a vast enemy like the government, people should refrain from actions that would destabilize that alliance. Writing it out and reading it now, I can understand that, but I wasn't mature enough to agree to such a totalitarian idea. Or maybe it wasn't me at all. It was Mion who made that mature judgment. We've been separated for over a year. I've been away from the town. In the meantime, Mion has been training to take over the headship of the Sonozaki family. She'd been treated as such even before I was confined to that institution. She sat next to the hag in ceremonies and in meetings. She took her place when the hag was absent. But that was just it. We were never that different. Mion's become very like a successor since I've been gone. Uh-huh. You sound like a grown-up now. She seemed to get what I was implying. Am I thinking like Granny now? That's good. You're the successor. You shouldn't think like the rest. You've definitely learned the art of ruling. I never learned anything like that. I'm just trying to act like her. You can do it easily, too. I don't want to. It's your role. Well, don't try too hard or you'll tire yourself out. I didn't mean to be cold, but Mion seemed to take it that way. She smiled as if trying to pacify me. I smiled gently back at her. Sis? I mean, Mion. What? What is it? Our separation has always been tough. Our names, the places where we live, and our bodies. Mion looked down with a serious face. But then looked right back up. Maybe you think I'm jealous of that, but I'm not. We used to have some disagreements, but they were always small and forgettable. You don't have to feel sorry for anything. Up until birth, we were perfectly equal. Right after birth, we were separated by the grown-ups' priorities. I used to get mad about it when I was little. There's no denying that. But we don't have to start a disagreement over it. Mion seems to understand what I'm trying to say. We each have our own characteristics, even though we're identical twins. Only we know the differences. We're also dependent on each other because of them. Mion seems more dependent. She always worries about me. If somebody gave her a cookie, she'd divide it in two and give one half to me. If somebody gave her a candy, she'd wait until I said it was okay to eat it. On the contrary, I'm cold. I don't care about others if I'm satisfied. I put the candy in my mouth right away. I have to emphasize that I don't hate her, and I'm well aware that she loves me. We both know that. Mio must have been hesitating to put the candy of the successor in her mouth, and was waiting to see if I was okay with that. Do your best, Mion. I'll do my best as Shion, too. I tapped her forehead with my fist lightly. Mion put her forehead against my fist as if trying to feel the warmth. She's Mion, and I'm Shion. She's the successor of the Sonozaki family, and I'm just a flail snail, a vagabond. That isn't a distinction, but rather our individuality. We shouldn't worry too much about the other anymore. We should feel relaxed, living as who we are, with our own characteristics. I didn't have to say any of that out loud. We can communicate by touch, just like this. Okay. Thanks, Shion. No worries, Mion. Let's talk to each other whenever we want to. Like we've always been. That'll never change, okay? Okay. Okay. Mion kept nodding with her forehead against my fist. I said goodbye to Mion before it turned to evening. We had talked about the things that happened during my time away, and I enjoyed having that chat between sisters very much. We were able to dissolve our unsettled emotions. We didn't used to do that. Maybe it's because we hadn't seen each other for over a year. It was late afternoon. My heart felt lighter now. I stretched and looked up at the sky. The sky was clear, blue, and far away. No matter how tall I grow, I'll never be able to touch that sky. I'm Shion Sonozaki, a girl who escaped from the life she was forced to live. Nobody will praise me for what I did and for what I'm going to do. But this is what I chose. I can think maturely too. I psyched myself up. I should go shopping for dinner. Though I have Kasai's help, I need to save money. I love junk food, but it'd be cheaper to cook. Ironically, the culinary classes from that evil school will come in handy. Why not go to the shopping district in Kamiishiki? If I'm going there, then I'd need to take the other street. The cool breeze in the late afternoon felt nice on my skin. Kasai came to the door when I was putting stuff I bought into the fridge. Ah, wait a sec. I'm coming.
Did you go grocery shopping? You must be tired.
I don't get tired from grocery shopping. Oh, do you want dinner? I bought enough for you too.
Is that alright? If you say so, I'd be happy to.
Kasai looked curious about what I'd cook. You don't look like you believe in my cooking skills. You'll pay for that later.
Are you putting these in the refrigerator? I'll do it.
Oh, thanks. Is this amount of rice enough for two? Here I go. Kasai skillfully packed food in the fridge while glancing at each item in turn. He noticed something.
Shion-san, do you still hate canned food?
I hadn't bought any. That was, of course, on purpose.
It must be hard to avoid it.
I know it's illogical. Maybe I could eat it if somebody forced me to. No, on second thought, I definitely couldn't.
I feel really sorry. I know I was out of line then. Please forget about that story.
Ah, shut up! Men shouldn't hang around in the kitchen. Go watch TV or something. Kasai chuckled and left. I know this sounds stupid, but I hate canned food. If somebody told me there was canned food in a meal I just ate, I'd throw up. It started with a silly thing. Kasai told me a horror story when I was little. You know, one of those urban legends. About meat made from an unknown source. Like those rumors about how there's worm meat mixed into burger patties. Or dog meat in beef bowls. Kasai had fun telling me one of those stories because of how scared I got. He had fun, but I obviously didn't. I even started to cry in the canned food section of a supermarket. That's how much I hated it. I don't freak out like that anymore, but I still don't like canned food. Since I don't like it, I don't force myself, and I now live my life naturally avoiding canned food. One of the big differences between us twins is that Mion doesn't have this issue. Kasai feels responsible for this, but he can't rid me of that fear. Still, a flaw like this is actually a good thing. Otherwise I'd be too perfect. Kasai, set the table, would you? Yeah, it's the canned human meat story that we heard in the other chapter. That's what she heard about. It smells good. Thank you for doing this. If this isn't enough food, you can go to a beef bowl place later or something. And don't turn off the TV. I hate having dinner in silence.
Thank you for the meal.
So, what is it, Kasai? You came here for something, didn't you? I handed him a cup of tea. I could wait until dinner was over, but I wanted to get to the point quick.
I thought I should wait until we finished, but would you mind if I talked while eating?
It's been bugging me since you got here. It'd be much easier for me to eat if you started talking now.
We received a phone call from the school today.
Today? That's late. Sounds like they didn't want to make it public. So, what happened?
Akane-san took the call. She said she was going to tell your father when the time is right.
Akane-san is my mom. That's what Kasai calls her, as he's known her since before her marriage. So? What did she say? I was lucky she answered the phone, since she's relatively on my side.
Other than calling you a brat, she didn't seem surprised by this outcome.
I see. So she hasn't told Dad yet?
She's probably waiting for the right moment. I think she's going to in a couple of days.
Dad is on Grandma's side, so he'll definitely talk to her if he hears about it. Then she'll have her men bring me to her, and depending on my explanation, make me offer a finger or two. Scary.
I wish you could laugh it off, but please remember you're not the only one who...
You're eating too fast. I cooked too much rice and miso soup, so you'll have to have another round. At least 3 helpings, alright? A few days later, Mion told me that the hag had heard about my escape. So? How did she take it? She was furious. She said that if you were in Okinomiya, she'd get you right away. Scary. And? Is Dad doing anything? They'll hold a family council soon to see if any of the family members are hiding you. It doesn't look like she'll have the greenhorns search for you all over town, though. Holding a family council means that things will remain in the hag's hands alone. She won't search the town for me. It's like she's unofficially approving my presence. Of course, I'll get caught immediately if they find me in a large public place. Seems like Mom did a lot to help me. I can tell she's being supportive. It's a long story, but my mom is sort of an outlaw, even though she's of the Sonozaki bloodline. A long time ago, she had a huge fight with the hag because she hated the family rules and traditions. She was even excommunicated. My mom was supposed to be the successor, but she was deprived of the title and Sis took her place instead. While she's quiet now, Mom's still an outlaw. She's always been on my side because I also hate rules and traditions. Dad was flaring up at first, but Mom pacified him. He can't win against her after all. Okay, thanks. Let me know if something comes up. If things really go bad, I'm ready to leave town. I can't let Kasai, Uncle Yoshiro, or Mom lose face. Sis, I know what you're thinking. You're asking yourself why only I have to go through this even though we're twins, aren't you?
Mion was silent. That meant yes.
It isn't fair that only you have to live like this. It's absolutely not. Thanks. I appreciate your feelings. Tell me when you want to go out. I'll arrange my plan so that I can trade places with you. She sounded apologetic. I shouldn't go quiet or agree with her. She sticks to things a little too much. Once she goes down, she'll stay there for a while. So I just told her simply, thanks. That's really nice of you. Okay, I'm hanging up now. Talk to you later.
New tips unlocked. A smudged diary. Achievement unlocked. Hello, sister. Satoko was crying while hiding behind my back. She's been crying while clinging onto me, so my back was wet with her tears and snot. My aunt had been screaming hysterically, but she looked tired now. I suddenly realized that it was already past 1 in the morning. She vomited out a series of screams one last time, then finally called it quits. Satoko seemed exhausted. She was looking down in a state of shock. Even after my aunt walked away, she didn't realize she had been freed. So I stroked her head and told her, "It's over, Satoko." Satoko twitched. Her eyes grew bright again and tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked up at my face. She knew it was over, but wanted to hear it directly from me. She begged me with a look. To be honest, I was really exhausted too, so I felt a bit annoyed when she tried to make me say it. But I needed to pacify her, so I gently told her what she wanted to hear. She's done with her scolding. So let's go to sleep. Alright? Satoko clung to me while her tears continued to fall. She was crying again silently. Satoko was shivering pitifully. Her small back reminded me that there was nobody else to protect her. Here, go brush your teeth, make your bed, and go to sleep. Satoko smiled faintly and nodded. I felt dizzy. As I was released from the strain, a harsh drowsiness fell upon me. While Satoko was washing her face, I went to the toilet. I zoned out while watching my pee. In my dizziness, I almost missed the shot. I felt like I was being sucked into the toilet. I couldn't even remember what caused it. Why did my aunt start screaming today? It's a very quiet afternoon, as always. Since I can't go outside as myself, I have to match schedules with Mio when I go shopping. I've gotten used to it by now, so it's no longer a hassle. Because of this, I naturally have to buy things in bulk. Today I shuttle between shops in my home. I got this, I got that. Oh, wait! Isn't it a 100 yen sale day today? I forgot this! Being in a good mood, I spun around with my arms spread out. I felt like a little whirlwind. My arm hit a motorcycle parked on the sidewalk. It obviously wasn't where it was supposed to be. Ah, ow! Ow! What the? Who parked this motorcycle here? I gave it a kick with no hesitation. There were 3 motorcycles lined up there in a row. They all fell like dominoes. It was a beautiful sight. This is fun, I thought. Being in such a good mood made me leave my guard down. I didn't realize that the owners of the motorcycles were right nearby. They looked pretty scary. They grabbed me by the neck and dragged me into a dark alley. Then they called me all kinds of names. Everything was happening too quickly for me to grasp what was going on. The fuck are you, bitch? What you think you're doing, huh? Fucking bash your head in, bitch! Gonna pay for what you did. Whoa, they can't really talk properly. I didn't have a clue what they were saying. I had to translate their alien tongue into normal human words in order to understand. We are very upset because you knocked down our motorcycles. You should immediately pay for the repair and compensation. Yeah, that was probably it. That's our offer. What do you say? We'd be happy to listen to your opinion. Something like that? Ah! What are you doing? Sorry. I don't think I can continue interpreting. Huh? What you saying? I know what they're trying to say, but somebody has to warn them about the way they park their motorcycles. It wouldn't be fair to those who obey the rules if there are no punishment for those who disobey them. This is an accident, but it must also be God's will. But God, you can use me to punish these guys, but how will you compensate me later? I heaved a huge sigh. Of course, I wasn't afraid in this situation at all, because it wasn't a dangerous one for me. These 3 guys were yelling at the top of their lungs at a girl. They didn't look good doing it, and they had too many disadvantages. First, there was the differences in gender and the number of people.
Even if I did something wrong, as men shouting at a woman, it didn't make them look like they were in the right. Added to that, there were 3 of them. It already looked like it was going to get violent. Second, the location. Taking a girl into a dark, narrow alleyway is already a bad idea, and on top of that, they're asking for money, not just an apology. Thanks to these facts, the public will be on my side, so this is a fight they couldn't possibly win. The only way for them to win would be to take my money before somebody finds out. Considering that, taking me to this narrow, secluded alleyway might have been a smart move, since fewer people will find out about this situation.
Ah! You listening or not?
I knew how slim their chances of winning were. From the very beginning, they picked the wrong girl. I'm Mion Sonozaki now. It'd be foolish to mug her in Okinomiya. Soon enough, the people of Hinamizawa would notice me and gather around. They don't spare mercy for their enemies, no matter what. The punks didn't know this area well. If they did, they'd have known how silly it was to rob Mion. Plus, the alleyway isn't always as empty as they had assumed. This side street is a shortcut which local people frequently use on their way home. In the late afternoon, many people will be passing through here. That time had almost arrived. If I held off a little longer, the street would soon be filled with people. Then the punks would have to go away. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to wait in order to win. This is a simple fight like that. While they could hurl abusive language at me or lift me up by my collar, they weren't actually going to resort to violence. Cheers to the educational system for ingraining the ladies' first mindset. But as a wicked person, I wanted to toy with them a bit, even though I could win this by waiting. I wanted to paint them as even more villainous and drive them into a corner that would be even harder to talk their way out of. That demonic desire was rearing its horns. To put it plainly, I'd only need to act as the poor, helpless victim a little further, like the pathetic, pitiful, tragic heroine everyone wants to sympathize with. In a case like this, I shouldn't start crying immediately because they'd get nervous and draw back. If it were a truly threatening situation, that would work, but I needed something different here. I'd pretend to be strong at first. In fact, I thought, why don't I challenge them? And eventually I'd start trembling, my voice would fade, and I'd get tears in my eyes. It'd be even better if I played the role of a strong girl who's slowly giving in to fear. Mion and I are probably the only ones who are capable of pulling that kind of stuff off. Well, I'm probably better than her. Why don't you let me go now? I already apologized. I talked back with a little hesitation. Am I getting tears yet? Yes! By the way, I've heard men can't shed tears on command. I feel sorry for that. No, anyone can do that. Or at least it's not based on gender. The 3 punks faltered a bit due to my sudden change in attitude, but they soon started yelling at me again. I had to keep it going. That way they blatantly look like they're picking on a helpless girl. Please, forgive me.
What you doing? What's with this girl, huh?
I don't...
Maybe you should apologize like that from the start.
It looked like they were laying off a bit. Did I overdo it a little? It'd be boring if they let me go now. At that moment... Cut it out! Don't you see her crying? Stop it!
Yeah, but you're not disproving that because you're a woman, though, Serena, so...
A boy around my age appeared. He was skinny. He looked weak. He looked younger than he probably was. He also looked smart. He bravely glared at the punks.
What the hell? Who the fuck are you? Back the fuck off!
It caught my throat. The punks turned away from me to face the boy instead. The boy looked a bit agitated when the punks started yelling at him. They sure were ruthless, but the boy must have known that from the beginning. He must have known that he was going into a dangerous situation, yet he didn't hesitate.
Fucking say something! Why don't you answer us?
He must have wanted to shout back at them, but he probably never used that kind of language in his life, so he couldn't have expressed his feelings out loud. He might not have even known what to say, so he just kept on glaring at them, to let them know that he wasn't going anywhere. The 3 punks, though, might have thought he was just lost for words in his fear.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah.
But I knew different. The boy was overpowering them with nothing but his will. The punks were losing, so they resorted to violence. They grabbed him and knocked him down. They hit, kicked, and tossed him around. It looked painful, but I knew. It was his victory. In the end, local passers-by stopped the punks. They made no further fuss and just went away. The boy stood up. He was covered in dust. He smiled when our eyes met and asked me if I was all right. He didn't look particularly okay himself, though. How could you step into a fight you obviously couldn't win? Pick your opponents better next time. I hesitated at first. He laughed, saying that he was watching from the beginning. That meant he had the option to walk away, but instead he worked up the courage and stepped in. That was reckless, not brave. You're being a little harsh, Mion. You should at least say thank you. I saw you crying. No, I wasn't crying. That was just an act. Okay. Hey, you don't believe me, do you? Do you really think I'd cry? No. Nobody believed Mion Sonozaki would cry when punks bullied her. Why are you laughing? You really don't believe that was an act? I'd never cry! I believe you, I do! I realized one thing. He must be one of Sis's friends. He didn't seem to realize I'm her twin. He thought I was Mion, but with a different hairstyle. Mion and I had to live separately since before we went to elementary school. Mion was in Hinamizawa. And I was in Okinomiya. I lived in a totally different environment from her, so it's not strange that people don't know me. Actually, only very few people know I exist. I almost told him that I'm not Mion, but I managed to stop myself. Shion shouldn't be here. He's from Hinamizawa. It wouldn't be good if he thought he saw a Mion look-alike in Okinomiya. So I had to act like Mion. Dealing with him could be more difficult than handling those punks. Well, I was just relieved because you seem to have a girly side after all. You sound hostile. What exactly do you mean by that? I thought you kicked those guys' butts with some crazy martial arts. So I was really surprised when you just started crying. Hey! Like I said, I was acting! Weren't you listening at all? He gently put his hand on top of my head and stroked it as if stroking a kitten. I could remember someone doing that to me when I was little, but it had been quite a while since somebody stroked my head. I didn't know what to do. Why did it make me so embarrassed? My face reddened all at once. I couldn't say anything. Hey! Are you making fun of me? I stuttered in embarrassment. He looked calm, as if he was used to doing this. Whatever. Aren't you glad, though? Glad? What do you mean? Well, you didn't get hurt. He smiled while he kept stroking my head. His smile looked divine. He wasn't going to stay for long. He'd already saved me from those guys, after all. Well, I need to be going. So I should head off now. Okay. I wanted to go through all the steps of meeting someone for the first time, but he didn't. As far as he was concerned, he just saved a friend from danger, and wanted to leave quickly to avoid seeming pretentious. He and Mio must be friends who knew each other well. So I couldn't bring myself to ask, "What's your name?" Mion's friend smiled once again. His smile looked as refreshing as a clear blue sky. This time he smiled a bit mischievously. Don't worry. I won't tell anybody you were crying. Well, nobody would believe it if I told them anyway. Nobody would ever believe that our invincible class president cried. He patted the dust off his butt once again. He walked back to the sunny main road, away from the dark alley. Then he turned around. See you. In school tomorrow, I mean. Yeah, see you in school. He disappeared into the brightly lit street. I continued to sit in the gloomy alleyway. I could no longer see him. I was just staring absent-mindedly at the bright light. That was the first time I met Satoshi-kun. I'm not even allowed to walk freely under the sun. I met a boy on a sunny day. How come a perverse girl like me fell in love with his innocence? Notebook, page 5. That must be Satoshi. He looks like what you described, and he has a habit of stroking people's heads. Uh-huh. His name is Satoshi-kun, eh? The boy from earlier is called Satoshi Hojo-kun. Mion said that he's always daydreaming, so she didn't believe that he saved me at first. His little sister is always kicking his butt. No, the typo is probably a mistake. Uh-huh. He has a little sister? Yeah. Her name is Satoko. She's funny and shrewd, but quick to cry when she's cornered. She's fun to watch, but things have been rough for her lately, so she's feeling a bit down. His sister came up naturally in the conversation. I tried to soak up every scrap of information about Satoshi-kun. Why? Why am I trying to ask so much about him? As I asked myself that, the feeling I got when he stroked my head came back to me. I must have been blushing. Hello? Shion? Eh? Sorry. I'm here, I'm listening. To start, I hear Satoko's on bad terms with her aunt. Satoshi's mature, so he knows how to conduct himself, but when bad things happen, Satoko really lets herself go. What Sis told me was very interesting. She told me that the parents of Satoshi-kun and his little sister are dead. Satoshi-kun and Satoko are now living with their uncle and aunt. They don't seem like very respectable people. They're always fighting, and the uncle is cheating on the aunt. He mostly lives with his mistress. Satoshi-kun and Satoko entered into that unwelcome environment. What surprises me the most is the fact that Satoshi-kun's parents were the Hojo couple who were the leaders of the pro-dam activists. That fact must have added something to the situation. I don't know what kind of stance the uncle and aunt took during the dam conflict, but they must have taken some indirect blows. Satoshi-kun's parents died after bothering them so much, and even left them their children. Their uncle and aunt obviously can't love those kids. Things have gotten worse this past year, too. Women can be really nasty bullies. Sometimes it doesn't matter who they're bullying, even if it's a kid. On top of that, women tend to care less about propriety than men. What does propriety mean? Conformity to conventionally accepted standards of behavior or morals. Huh. I see. As a result, Satoko seems exhausted with it all. I can imagine Satoshi-kun bravely protecting his little sister, just like when he saved me. So, he must be exhausted too, right? Huh? He must be covering for Satoko all the time, so wouldn't you normally assume that he's also feeling worn out? Well, I don't know. Had I said something wrong? Mion sounded a bit taken aback. So that meant Mion can't tell how he's feeling, because he's always wearing that blank look, so she never considered it. How can she be that insensitive even though she's around him all the time? I was amazed to realize that. Well, anyway, what does he usually do? He looks smart, so does he read a lot of books? Ah! Yeah, you're right. He likes to read. He's now reading... what's it called? I continued asking about him. About what he likes, dislikes, and what he thinks about. I asked Sis all these questions because I wanted to know more about him. It was the first time I'd ever been that interested in somebody. I didn't want to admit that I had feelings like that. Did I fall in love just because of a stroke on the head? Am I stupid or what? When I remember the feeling of his hand on my head, my heart feels tingly. I tried doing it myself, but it didn't feel the same. I'm stupid. What am I doing stroking my own head? Sis, I'm done for. I became stupid. What? Why are you laughing? In that weird voice? You wouldn't understand this feeling, sis. When would I see him again? I felt as if my suffocating life had finally grown brighter. The life I lived really was beginning to suffocate me. I couldn't go out freely, and I always had to make arrangements with Mion before going to work. I thought my life would improve after escaping from the school, but in reality it wasn't that easy. It's not healthy to live like this for too long. Without any friends to hang out with, I felt like I was hibernating. I started to feel the dangers of falling into boredom. All I could think of now was Satoshi Hojo-kun's face. I'd only met him briefly, but my encounter with him had a great impact on my new life. I felt like something exciting was going to happen. Really, I was hyped up like a little kid. The more I thought about it, I realized I'd been thinking about him a lot lately. This might be a crush. I felt a little ridiculous idolizing him in such a romantic way, though. Then, out of the blue, I got a chance to see him again. Oh? I saw a familiar face at twilight in the park. He was sitting on the swing. He looked like he was zoning out, or maybe deep in thought. He didn't notice me, even though I was right in front of him. I reminded myself to speak and act like Mion before talking to him. Hey! What are you doing here? Mion, you surprised me. You don't look surprised. I've been standing here for a couple of minutes now. Didn't you notice me? Have you? Sorry, I didn't... He smiled self-derisively and shrugged. He looked depressed, like something was troubling him. Is something bugging you? You can talk to me if you want. Maybe I can help. No, that's okay. Come on, I owe you one from before, Satoshi-kun. Or maybe you don't think this old man can be of any help? Don't you know how mighty I am? I'm okay. You don't have to help me. Huh? What is it then? Are you saying that you don't need help from a girl? Thinking him unfair, I puffed out my cheeks in a sulky gesture. Satoshi-kun noticed that and smiled. No, Mion. It's just, I messed up my swing when they needed me the most. I mentally rifled through all the information about Satoshi-kun that Sis had given me. He doesn't look like much of an athlete, but apparently Satoshi-kun belongs to a junior baseball team. They're called the Hinamizawa Fighters. I doubt he's very skilled, since I didn't hear much about his contributions to the team. Maybe that's why he doesn't tell many people that he's a member. Given how down he felt as a result of messing up, though, he must be fairly dedicated. I deduced all that from what Sis told me, and carefully chose my words so as to sound like her. What? Are you feeling down just because of that? Hey, it's not that easy to get over, Mion. I pat his back while chuckling. Satoshi-kun would probably call me insensitive. I knew I should listen to him rather than trying to cheer him up. Acting like Sis was probably the wrong thing to do in this case, but I had no choice. This is just how she'd react in this situation. Instead of feeling down, you should practice even harder and aim for your chance, you know? Practice makes perfect here. Well, if you want to beat the opposing pitcher so badly you're willing to pull some tricks, then I might be able to help you in a few ways. There's no point if I cheat. Satoshi-kun hung his head after letting his regrets out with a big sigh. Surrender, defeat, resignation were all visible in that gesture of his. Are you quick to give up or persistent? If you're a man, then don't you want to be a star and have your 15 minutes of fame? Satoshi-kun grinned and said yes. Of course, that'd be wonderful. But that's not why I play baseball. I just have fun batting and throwing the ball. You can understand that, right? This old man isn't sure. I only love games that I can win. I don't understand how you can love something when you can't be the best at it. That really sounds like you, Mion. Having realized that I'm trying to make him feel better, he laughed along. He didn't look depressed anymore. I guess he was just feeling down because of the game. He wasn't as depressed as I thought. Maybe I just jumped to conclusions when I saw him sitting alone in the park. You always put forth your best effort to win. That's admirable, I think. Yeah, it definitely is. He smiled gently and stood up. Then he started stroking my head. all of a sudden. I totally wasn't prepared for that. What? I thought that's when he did this last time, but how can he stroke somebody's head so easily? I felt like I turned into a little kid. Memories from kindergarten came to mind. My face must have been red. I felt embarrassed, but also like I was in heaven. Satoshi-kun stroked me as though petting a cat. I was blushing with my eyes closed. I felt helpless, like a girl being treated by the dentist with her mouth open and her eyes shut. Satoshi-kun didn't seem to notice my feelings at all. He didn't seem to care. I hate him. With my eyes still closed, I waited for him to finish. He suddenly withdrew his hand. I need to get going. My aunt wants some stuff, so I have to go grocery shopping. Okay. My voice faltered. I was so embarrassed. I'm going shopping, too. What? You are? I thought the maids did all your household stuff. Shoot, I messed up. In the main Sonozaki house, the maids do everything. Therefore, Mion hardly goes grocery shopping, and she's bragged to some people about that. I should have known better. Still, it wouldn't be too hard to find an excuse. I just happened to be in town, so I thought I'd help out with the household stuff. Is that a problem? That doesn't sound like you. You always avoid doing boring stuff like that. You talk too much. Ooh! Stop stroking my head! Satoshi-kun seemed to be having fun with how embarrassed I get when he patted me. Anyway, I managed to talk my way out of it. He didn't seem to really care about the details. While walking with Satoshi-kun in the shopping district of Kami-Ishiki, it suddenly occurred to me, why had I messed up? I'd known Mion would never go grocery shopping. What an amateurish mistake. Did I make that mistake while I was pretending to be Mion? No. I was probably speaking as Shion. I couldn't keep lying to myself. I had to just admit. It was simply because I wanted to spend as much time with Satoshi-kun as possible. It was easy to see why I was so attracted to him. I'd found something intriguing in my boring life, and I didn't have to feel tense because he thought I was somebody else, etc., etc. His easygoing nature made him fun to be around, and his habit of petting people on the head was fun too. From these symptoms, I could tell I was embracing the feeling of love. I was just casually enjoying that feeling. It wasn't that I fell in love with him, I was just having fun. I could simply spend some fun time with Satoshi-kun without having to think too much. Which one is broccoli? The green one or the yellow one? That's cauliflower, Satoshi-kun. Hey, could it be that you can't tell lettuce from cabbage either? I'm not that bad. I'm doing my best here. Satoshi-kun stared at the heaps of broccoli and cauliflower. After thinking for a while, he reached out for the wrong one. That's not it! Watching you shop is like being on a roller coaster. It's a lot of fun for me, though. You got me. Satoko can't tell the difference either. Which is broccoli and which one is cauliflower? You guys are too funny. Sister told me that Satoshi was a flaky big brother to his nagging little sister. I hadn't met Satoko, but she must be having a tough time dealing with Satoshi-kun. He stumbles over everything he buys after all. That's cooking salt. It's mixed with pepper. It's different from regular salt. Oh, is it? I think I saw salt and pepper separate in a science experiment once. Stop making excuses and just put it back on the shelf. This is normal salt. What are you getting next? You're being a great help, Mion. You look smart, but you have serious issues. I think you should study more. That's a little harsh. There. Is this it? In it goes. Ah! That's not it! Don't just throw anything in the basket. Check the price and how many servings it is first. My first impression of Satoshi-kun was that he was strong and reliable. But the more I spoke to him, the more surprised I was at how clumsy and unreliable he was. How do I put it? It was hard to leave him alone. He was dangerous on his own. If he wasn't careful, he might start wondering, do you cross the street when the light is red? Or was it green? And get himself run over by a dump truck. Your total is 1,780 yen. Do you have a member's card? Huh? Oh, yes. I do. Uh-huh. Where is it? Oh, sorry. We can't seem to find it, so we'll be alright for today. I finished checking out, ignoring Satoshi-kun as he fished through his wallet full of receipts. That was horrible, Mion. You made me waste points. Don't go slowly fishing through your wallet to look for your member's card in the middle of the evening shopping rush. There was a huge line behind us. Didn't you notice all the evil glares from all the old ladies? Listen, at times like that, you should get it out before reaching the register. Oh, right. That's good to know. It's not only when you go shopping. The same thing goes for when you ride a bus. Satoshi-kun, I bet you don't open your wallet and start looking for change until you're about to get off and have to pay while holding up everyone behind you. You pay when you get off in Japan? Huh. Over here, you get on the bus and you say a single return to, you know, wherever you're going, and then they charge you for that journey, basically. Oops. No, everyone walks by me and pays their own fare. Ha! You know what that means? You're being a super huge bother to everyone. You need to have the money out beforehand. That's just good manners. Do you get it? Okay. You're scary today, Mion. Satoshi-kun smiled as if patronizing me. I couldn't believe it. He was definitely the type who made women want to protect him. Sure, he was fine as he was when he had a busybody like me around him, but I couldn't stop worrying whether he was able to function in society without someone like that nearby. We got plastic bags and sorted out what we bought. Satoshi-kun put a pack of tofu at the bottom of the bag. I slapped his hand and put in a milk carton instead. Okay, there we go. Now your aunt won't freak out when she opens the shopping bag in her kitchen. Thanks. You helped me a lot. I don't think I'm very good at shopping. Just shopping? That's definitely not the only thing. Just kidding. I realized a few things while I was spending time with him today. He's not just bad at shopping, he's also chronically clumsy. In general, you could call him a slow thinker. That meant when he stepped into the quarrel with the punks, he must have needed a lot of courage. He might be a simpleton, but he's not stupid. He's aware of his weaknesses, so he must have been aware of the danger in that situation. He could have chosen to walk away even though I was in trouble, but he chose to be a man and stepped in. That was really admirable of him. Good boy. You did a great job. There, there. What is it? Don't stroke my head. I'm rewarding you for shopping successfully today. There, there. You're making fun of me, aren't you, Mion? No, I'm not. Can you go home by yourself? Do you know how to get there? You are making fun of me. Satoshi-kun's sulky face flushed red. He's just too cute. At that point, I caught a glimpse of a billboard from the corner of my eye. Piano lessons. Call this number. Abacus class. Junior baseball team. Members wanted. It was a posting for the team Satoshi-kun belonged to. It showed the day, time, and place of their next practice. By then, I knew just how flaky he was. I figured he must be just the same when playing baseball. Satoshi-kun realized that I was reading the posting. He looked uncomfortable and walked away. I know what you're thinking. I beg you, Mion, don't come to see me playing baseball. Am I right? What does that mumbling mean? I know I'm right. Satoshi-kun became quiet after mumbling something. It seemed like he couldn't say anything back since I'd been right on the money. Satoshi-kun, you're just too cute. I don't think going silent is a good way to dodge the issue. Well, that might have just been the way innocent people like him would react in a situation like that. See you, Satoshi-kun. It's getting dark, so be careful on your way back. Aren't you going home, Mion? To Hinamizawa? Ah, I have to make a stop somewhere first. Don't worry about me. I'll help you this time. In return. Ah! I'm okay. What are you going to help me with anyway? You should learn to support yourself before you try to help me. You're really mean today. He seemed to have some pride at least. He looked a bit upset because he was teased by a girl, but in contrast I felt very satisfied. As a result, I forgot to keep my guard up. Thank you for the help. That was sweet of you. While wearing a bright smile, Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head again. I know he's teasing me, but I can't reject him. He keeps doing it only because he's realized I won't resist. See you, Mion. You should go home before it gets dark. See you in school tomorrow. Yeah! See you in school tomorrow, too. In fact, I wouldn't see him tomorrow at all. It felt awkward, but I had to settle for that. I had to thank Sis for letting me use her name. After I separated from him, I found myself giddy and wishing to see him again as soon as possible. I wanted to know more about him. I couldn't wait for my next chance to see him. Actually, maybe there was something I could do. Just like when I obtained my freedom from St. Lucia's, I could choose how to live my life. Whatever, it wasn't that complicated. I just wanted to tease him more. I wanted him to stroke my head more, and... whatever. I already knew the schedule for his baseball team. God damn it, Daisy. New tips, a crumpled diary. Achievement unlocked, a hopeless pair. My aunt finally stopped her hysterical screaming. Today was just like any other day. I can't remember what set her off. Whatever it was, she changed subject constantly anyway. It didn't matter. She went on past midnight again. The urge to sleep was pounding the back of my head. Once Satoko had been able to relax, she fell down on the spot and started sleeping, still clinging to my sleeve. I carried Satoko to the bedroom and laid out our futons. Here, Satoko. Your futon is ready. So get in, okay? Satoko crawled in like a worm. She stopped moving when she was inside. I wished I could go to bed too, but I couldn't. My aunt asked me to do some chores. I had to get toothpaste after school tomorrow. I had to write it down somewhere. I had to make rice for lunch tomorrow. I set the timer. Right, I also had to repile the towels in the bathroom. That was the reason for today's scolding. My aunt will get mad if everything isn't done the way she wants. Oh, and there was something else. I was working at the grocery store the next day. They wanted me to bring an apron. Did we even have an apron in this house? I had never seen one. My aunt will be sleeping when I go to school, so I won't have time to ask her. What should I do? Since Mion helped me get that job, I don't want to screw it up. In that case, why don't I ask Mion about it at school? She might lend me one. Was there anything else? I was envious of Satoko because she got to go to bed. It was pathetic that I felt that way. I'm honestly kind of tired. Like, that's 3 whole chapters out of, I think, 14. They were shorter than usual. We've had long chapters recently in the past couple arcs. But I think I'll leave there with 3 chapters cleared, and then next time we can do however many takes us to 2 or 3 hours. So yeah, kind of a short stream, sorry about that, but we got a nice introduction to Shion and, well, not introduction, but introduction to how she got back to Shishibone and her relationship with Satoshi, so we'll have to see how that continues. Obviously, we know that Satoshi eventually goes missing this year, so we'll actually get to see firsthand the events that led up to that. Maybe they'll provide some answers for us. So yeah, thanks for coming along. See you guys next time, and yeah. You can also go watch the direct now if that's happening, though I have to wait.